Hi guys, it's Kristen. Welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be doing part 2 of my Rate My Bookshelf. So, we are now on to my third bookshelf, which hopefully won't take, or my third shelf on my bookshelf. Hopefully it won't take as long to get through the next couple because there's a lot of books that are on my physical TBR on here, so there's not as many books to go through. But first, we're going to start with the All Souls trilogy. So this is comprised of A Discovery of Witches, Shadow of the Night, and The Book of Life. And these are by Deborah Harkins. And I already kind of gave away the premise for these books when I was rating The Book of Life in my August reading wrap-up video. But to give a slightly quicker rundown, Diana Bishop is a witch, but she doesn't like to use her magic because her parents died when she was a young kid, and she likes to study alchemy. And so she goes to the library and she finds a magic book that all of the 3 species of supernaturals, witches, vampires, and demons, tells the story of life and holds different things for each fraction of the community. And so so the first book is her figuring out what this book is, figuring out her magic, and falling in love with Matthew de Clermont, who's a vampire. That's very against the rules. And then the second book is to escape the council that doesn't want supernatural beings mixing. They have to go back into the past, which Diana can do because she is considered a time walker, technically. And it's going through being in the past, her really coming into her powers, finding out some more family dynamics, such and so forth. And then in the third book, they come back to present day and they deal with the chaos that has been going on in present day due to Matthew's son Benjamin and trying to get out from the thumb of Matthew's older brother Baldwin, and just kind of wrapping up the series in a really good way. So I would rate this series a 4.5. I really enjoyed them. Sometimes I kind of had to drag myself through them, but they're just really thick books, and I think at the time I was reading some other really thick books, so it was a lot. But I really like the book series, totally recommend. So the next one I will bring up is The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. I gave this in my August reading wrap-up a 3.5. Or no, did I just give it a 3? Or did I give it 2.5? I don't remember what I gave this book. I will put it up here, though, for you guys. I will go back and watch my August wrap-up. I think I gave this book a 2 because I liked reading it, but I didn't fully enjoy it and understand it, and I just read it to finish reading it. It wasn't my cup of tea, so I think that's what happened with this book. Is I ended up giving it a 2 because I just did not. My life would have been better off not having read this. I feel like I wasted my time on this book, kind of. And so next, I have The Princess Academy by Shannon Hale, and I read this all the time in middle school and high school, and I really like this book. It is about Miri, and she lives on the slopes of Rocky Mount Esquile, and her life changes forever when her small village is the home of the future princesses. So all eligible girls must attend a makeshift academy to prepare for royal life. The school, Miri finds herself confronting bitter competition among the girls and her own conflicted desires to be chosen. Yet when danger comes to the academy, it is Miri, named for a tiny mountain flower, who must find a way to save her classmates and the future of her beloved village. So I really liked this book. It was really good. It's very wholesome. I would give this a 4.5 because I read it all the time. Next is The 13 Treasures by Michelle Harrison. And Tanya is no ordinary girl. She can see fairies, but not the fairies we imagine. Evil fairies who cast spells on her, rousing her from her sleep and propelling her out of bed. At wit's end with her daughter's unusual behavior, Tanya's mother sends her to Elf's Den Manor her grandmother's secluded countryside estate. 50 years ago, a girl vanished from the woods surrounding the mansion, and as Tanya learns more about the mystery, she finds herself dangerously close to vanishing into the fairy realm forever. Gonna be honest, I don't really remember what happens in this book. I know that I liked this book, so I would give it a 4, but I don't really remember everything that happens in here. Now, Beach Read by Emily Henry. Ooh, this is the one, you guys. This is a 5-star for sure. I loved this book. I could not put it down. This is the first kind of pure romance book that I've read, and I loved it. I got it from Sarah Caroli, her recommendation, and now I want to read everything of Emily Henry's because I love this book so much. In this book, so it's January and Gus, and January's father just died, and he had a lake house in Michigan, and she finds out at the funeral that her dad actually had a mistress, and they lived in this house together, and she's a romance writer, and it's kind of just broken her spirit, she doesn't think she's ever going to be able to write a love story again, and Gus is more of a literary fiction type writer, and they have this rivalry, and they decide to set up a bet where they're going to try and write each other's genres by the end of the summer, and whoever gets their book published wins. And they end up falling in love, and it's a great little story. I highly recommend. Really do love this book. Okay, so then we have Mystery on Mackinac Island by Anna W. Hall. There's a bicycle hail. There's a bicycle thief on Mackinac Island, and Hunter wants to catch him. Mackinac Island is a summer vacation spot in Michigan where no cars are allowed, so everyone uses horses and bikes to get around. 13-year-old Hunter Martineau lives on the island year-round and knows everything about the place. Well, almost everything. When bikes start to mysteriously disappear all over the island, Hunter's determined to catch the thief and claim the reward money, but that isn't so easy even for someone as smart as Hunter. And so it just kind of goes through Hunter getting closer to his heritage and trying to figure out this mystery. I don't really remember anything in this book. I purely have this for nostalgia reasons, especially because Mackinac Island is a big thing in Michigan. I'm from Michigan, so it's something that I've just kept around forever because I've had it forever. So one of those other books where I'm I don't read it, but I have it and I don't know what to do about it. So next we'll do Ferris by Gail Carson Levine, and she's also the author of Ella Enchanted. So if you like Ella Enchanted, you'll probably like this. And I really loved this book. This was a book that I reread over and over and over and over and over and over and over again growing up. And it's about Asa singing is the fairest in all the land, and the most unusual. She can throw her voice so it seems to come from anywhere. But singing is only one of the 2 qualities prized in the kingdom of Athoria. Asa doesn't possess the other, beauty, not even close. She's hidden in the shadows and her parents' inn, but when she becomes lady in waiting to the new queen, she has to step into the light, especially when the queen demands a dangerous favor. A magic mirror, a charming prince, a jealous queen, palace intrigue, and an injured king twine into a maze that Asa must penetrate to save herself and her beloved kingdom. And I know I love this book, so I'm going to give it a 4.5. From what I remember, it's kind of she goes to be the queen's lady in waiting, and she ends up finding a way to make herself beautiful, and I don't really remember what else happens from there, but I do remember it was a really good book and I loved it, so I'm going to give it a 4.5. I have Scottish Ghost Stories by Gerald. So this is just a collection of ghost stories, and that's why I liked it and why I picked it up. I don't really remember any of the ghost stories that are in here. It's also one of those books that I keep around because I've had it for forever, so I don't know what to say about this book other than I have it. Alright, next is Teardrop and Waterfall by Lauren Kate. And this is book 1, this is book 2, it's a duo, and in it, Eureka Bordeaux's mother drilled that rule into her daughter years ago to never ever cry. But now her mother is gone, and everywhere Eureka goes, he's there. Ander, the tall, pale, blonde boy who seems to know things he shouldn't, who tells Eureka she's in grave danger, who comes closer to making her cry than anyone has before. But Ander doesn't know Eureka's darkest secret. Ever since her mother drowned in a freak accident, Eureka wishes she was dead too. She has little left that she cares about. It's got for her oldest friend Brooks and a strange inheritance, a locket, a letter, and a mysterious stone, an ancient book no one understands. The book contains a haunting tale about a girl who got her heart broken and cried an entire continent into the sea, and something about the story is uncannily familiar. Eureka is about to discover that the ancient tale is more than a story, that Andrew might be telling the truth, and that her life has far darker undercurrents than she ever imagined. And so it's very much fantasy romance, and I remember really loving these books growing up, and I don't remember what all happens, but I do know that I really enjoyed them, so I would give them a 4 to a 4.5, because I know that I really like them, and I've read them many times. Alrighty, let's go with 5 Survive by Holly Jackson. So this book was something else when I was reading it, because I remember reading this and I was so excited to read this book because I thought it was going to be really good, and it really just was not. I'm pretty sure I gave this a 3.5 when I was reading it, and I specifically remember telling my boyfriend about it because that's just how much this book, like, made me mad. It's another situation where, like, it takes so long for any action to start happening in this book, and then once it does start happening, like, it's so, like, it's, you gotta wait for any action to happen, and then the way it ends is weird too, and I was not a fan. Like, the last 100 pages really got me, and that's why I gave it a 3.5, but, like, I just don't like it. And, like, there's a character in here because it's 5 friends, so it's Red, her best friend, her older brother, his perfect girlfriend, a friend from school, and the guy Red wishes was more than a friend. And they're on their way for spring break to this destination, and they get trapped in the woods in the middle of nowhere in their RV, and, like, people are trying to kill them, and, like, only a handful are gonna make it out alive. And you kind of figure out, like, all these bad things that everybody's been doing. And the older brother is such a douchebag, and, like, I know that he's written so that you hate him, but God, do I hate him so much. I hate him so much in this book, and it kills me. And just having to go through all the dialogue dealing with his character really just did not sell me on this book. And in the last little bit, you kind of figure out the twist of, like, who's trying to kill them and why, and it's a good twist in the end. So I would give it a 3.5. It was so. I really like the last 100 pages. If you're interested in it, go ahead and read it. Maybe you'll like it more than me, but for me, it was fine. Okay, so the next series we're going to talk about is the Warrior series, and this is a series that I loved because I had the first book from my 4th grade class in elementary school. I kind of stole the book from my teacher's classroom, so that's how much I loved it. Don't come for me. It's been almost, a decade and a half. Please leave me alone. But I loved it so much. I never finished the series, so it's part of my reading journey of wanting to finish the series I loved as a kid that I never finished. And I would rate the series a 5. I love it. I know that it's for, like, little kids, but I love the series. It is so wholesome, and it's about talking cats and their, like, warrior pack life and, like, all of their traditions and customs and having to battle other clans, and it's good. I love this series. So let me give you a little play-by-play for each book. So the first one is this house cat Rusty. He ends up finding out that there are warrior cats in the woods who live on their own and protect their own and, like, eat mice. And he ends up joining one of the clans because they don't have a lot of people. He kind of proves himself that he's able to be one of these clan cats. And so that happens in the first book. And then in the second book, end of book 1, Rusty becomes a warrior. He's an apprentice named Firepaw, and then he becomes a warrior named Firestar. And this book picks up right after their vigil that they take when they finally become a warrior. And he's trying to prove that, like, he's trying to figure out what happened and what's going on in his clan, because right before he gets there, the original deputy of the clan was murdered by, I think it's by River Clan, they think murdered him, and it really is not that. And so we kind of get him trying to figure out what happened to that deputy in this book, and training other apprentices and the like. The third book is, he finally figures out what happens, and it's about him trying to tell Bluestar, who's the leader of, he becomes Fireheart. I think I said Firestar, which in the end he does become Firestar, but he becomes Fireheart in the second book. Okay, so in this one, he finally figures out what happened to the original deputy, and he's trying to tell Bluestar what happened, and is trying to navigate that, and it's not really working out very well. And Shadow Clan attacks them, and a couple of the clans have a fight. A lot goes on in these books that I don't remember because I read them so fast. I just binged them. But then you have the fourth book. So in the fourth book, the person who killed the original deputy has been exiled, and Fireheart now becomes the new deputy, and you get him trying to, like, Bluestar, their leader, is in shambles. Like, she's just felt so betrayed, and you get Fireheart, like, basically taking care of the clan and trying to keep everything together and try to keep Bluestar's weakness away. And then in the fifth one, you're also learning that, like, because Graystripe ends up mating with, like, another cat from a different clan, and they have babies, which is not what you're supposed to do, but Bluestar did that, and you find out a lot of interesting things along the way. So in this one, I think this is the one where Fireheart actually becomes Firestar, because there's a pack of dogs in the woods trying to hunt everything down, and she ends up sacrificing herself to fulfill the plan that the clan puts together to save everybody. And then in this one, Fireheart is now Firestar, and he's the leader of the clan, and there's these outside cats from the city that actually try to take over, and Tiger Star is trying to take over all of the clan land in the forest and make everybody one single clan, and he's using these city cats to be able to do that. And then you kind of get some betrayal going on, so then you go through that, and then there's a series after this where it's Firestar having his family and his kids, and you kind of follow the kids, and I'm pretty tempted to almost tempted to get that series just to read it a little bit more. And then the next series I'm going to talk about is Nightmare Hall, and these are kind of like almost like Goosebumps, but for, like, teenagers, and they're just kind of spooky mystery thrillers for young adults, and I really liked all of these. Actually, I think these are my dad's old books, technically, or something like that, and I enjoyed reading these as a kid, and I really liked them, so I highly recommend picking these up. I would give them a solid 4.5. There was always good twists and turns. And so that is everything that is on my third bookshelf. So I'm going to go ahead, my third shelf on my first bookshelf. So now I'm going to go ahead and we're going to do the last shelf. Or we're going to do the fourth shelf. Moving on to the fourth bookshelf. The first on there is The Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis. And I'm pretty sure that I attempted to read this book back when Narnia, like, when I first saw the Narnia movie. And I never actually ended up reading it. But I just have it because, like, I feel like I should. But I should also probably read this at some point. Although I probably won't. Because I have so many other things that I want to read on my to-be-bought list. / on my physical TBR. Okay, so after that, I have the Wicked Lovely series by Melissa Marr, and I really like these. I'd probably give them in between a 4 and a 4.5. And the first book, you have Aslan. It's either Aslan or Aislinn. I'm not 100% sure on what to do or how to say that, but Aislinn is a girl in high school. I think she's 16 when the books start, and basically she can see the Fae, and the Fae don't like that. If they know that you can see them, they tend to kill them being humans. And so she's always been trying to ignore the Fae, and one day out of the blue, this Fae ends up falling in love with her, or not falling in love with her, but he is the Summer King, and his name is Keenan, and he is looking for his soulmate. And every time he finds a girl who he thinks is his soulmate, he's cursed, where she has to fall in love with him and want to pick up the Winter Queen scepter of winter. And if she is his soulmate, then she becomes the Queen of Summer, and if she's not, she becomes the Winter Girl, and basically has to warn off all the other girls that Keenan ever sees, because his mom killed his dad, and they put a curse on him that in order to find his soulmate who would make his court strong again, he has to go through all these trials and tribulations. And so the first one is him trying to make Aislinn realize that she should take this step and becoming his queen, but she likes Seth, who she has like best friends with, and so there's kind of like a little love triangle. And in Ink Exchange, you get the same characters, but now you get it from the point of view of Leslie, and the Dark Court is having trouble with getting emotions because they feed off emotions and like sin and pleasure and all of that good stuff. And in order to make the court stronger, the Dark King Uriel, I think it's Uriel, he takes his essence and mixes it with ink, and Leslie picks a set 2 out of like a set, and she ends up basically being bound to him, and like they are almost kind of like a soulmate situation, but it's not great. And so you get her point of view and like trying to break that, and you also still have the little love triangle with Seth and Keenan and Aislinn, and all of that that's going on there. And then Fragile Eternity is the 3rd book, and this goes back to being Aislinn and Seth primarily, and obviously Aislinn is immortal now, and Seth isn't. So she has all these powers that she can't fully release with Seth. She's feeling really drawn to Keenan because they're soulmates, and that's kind of just what happens with the bond. And Seth is trying to like make sure that like he stays with Aislinn, and the only way he can see that is if he himself becomes a fairy. And so this is the story of like him trying to figure out how he can become immortal, and he ends up becoming immortal because he gets bound to Sorcha, who is like the Queen of Order basically, and she's like, her and her sister Benak created all of the Fae in general. They've always ruled, like they're always like the end all be all, like nobody can beat them, otherwise you die. So it goes through that little hierarchy. And then in the 4th book is all about Ani, who is falling in love with Devlin, and Devlin is the High Queen, Sorcha's kind of sort of brother, and he is like, he has to fill out her orders and her duties no matter what, and he ends up falling, and one of those orders was to kill Ani when she was little, and he doesn't, and she is a halfling, and she ends up becoming a hound, which typically is not typical for a halfling, and Devlin ends up falling in love with her, and you get that kind of journey of like trying to save Ani from the High Queen, because the High Queen doesn't know that she's alive, and going through that. And you still get all the other characters in here as well, because they're on the brink of war, and Keenan and Seth and all of them are all having their little issues. So very high fantasy, high romance, high drama, as they would say. And then the last book is Keenan, and like Keenan is just trying to do what's best to survive this war, and Aslan is now in charge of everything, and she is literally like 16 years old, 17 years old, 18 years old, and is in charge of a whole court now, where Keenan's had hundreds of years to rule a court, and so it weakens the court, and he ends up, because he's really truly in love with Donna, who they were together, and she was the last person to take up the scepter, and she didn't make it. She is the Winter Girl. And then she ends up becoming the Queen of Winter later on in one of the battles, and now they obviously can't be together because one is winter, one is summer. And so this goes through them finally picking who they want to be with and moving forward with that, and you get the big whole battle of all of the clans coming to fight Bannock, who is basically the goddess of war, and it's really good. So I would give all those books a 4. Like, I liked reading them. I enjoyed reading them. So we had Joy, the Summer Vacation Fairy by Daisy Meadows. I love this book. If you are looking for a girl's book, like, this is one. This is a good one. I'd give it a 4.5, and it's Rainsville Island is the perfect place for vacation. Enjoy the Summer Vacation Fairy is the one who keeps it that way. But when Jack Frost steals 3 magical shells from the beach, Joy starts to lose her sparkle. Rachel and Kirsty are determined to help Joy, but will summer vacation ever be the same again? And I remember this being really good. So if you got a niece in your life or a little girl, I would definitely look at those books. We have The Last to Vanish by Megan Miranda. I rated this in my August. I rated this and gave more in-depth details in my August reading wrap-up. So I want to say I gave this a 4, 4.5. I will put up on the screen, of course, what I rated it in my August wrap-up. But I really like this. I like this book. It was good. It didn't blow my socks off, but I still liked it, and I enjoyed reading it. And I guess I could go a little bit more in depth on this one. Abigail moved to a town in North Carolina in the Mountain Pass, and lots of people have gone missing on this trail that is in this little tiny town, and a journalist goes back to report on report on a couple of people who have disappeared, and he ends up going missing himself. So his brother comes out to see if he can get any clues. And so you're kind of trying to follow the mystery of all these people that have gone missing. And I liked it. You saw what I rated it earlier. I just wanted to give you guys a little bit more detail in this video. So then, all right, I have The London Seance Society by Sarah Penner. I really love this book. I think I gave this a 5 in my reading wrap-up, if not a 4.5 to a 5. And I rated this in my September reading wrap-up, and I'm pretty sure I rated this a 4.5 or a 5. I really like this book. If you want more detail about it and kind of like my thoughts on it, go watch my September reading wrap-up. But basically, in Victorian London, seances are all of the trend, and Lena Wicks has come to Paris to get answers about her sister's death from her mentor, Vaudeline Dallaire, who is a seance medium. And she's learning how to become one herself. That way she can perform one for her sister. And while they're in Paris, they find out that one of Vaudeline's good friends ends up dead. And he died the same night that Lena's sister did. So they go back to London to kind of solve what's going on, and the London Seance Society, which is the order that's kind of like the big to-dos with seances and ghosts and stuff, have already been working on the case, and that is who the good friend of hers died, actually ran that business. And you kind of find out the twists and turns of what was going on in the business and why her sister died. And this is really good. It's a really, 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 really good mystery with ghosts and spooky season stuff. So I highly recommend reading this book. Okay, so next I have The Inheritance. I have The Inheritance series from Christopher Paolini, and it consists of 4 books. There's Aragon, Eldest, Brizinger, and Inheritance is the 4th book. I'm currently reading that one, so I can give you all of my ratings for the books that I've read so far and kind of like give you some in-depth knowledge. Also, these are going to be in my September reading wrap-up video as well, so if you want more in-depth explanations, go check out that video. But Aragon is basically this boy who lives in a village. Is kind of set in what I would say like medieval times. This is definitely fantasy. And he is in the Spine, which kind of gives spooky season vibes. Nobody likes going there. Lots of people disappear there. And he finds this stone, and he tries to trade it for money. And the person, well, he tries to trade it for meat because he's trying to feed his family. That's why he's out in the Spine. And the butcher won't take it because it's from the Spine, and his wife died in the Spine, wants nothing to do with it. So he takes it home, ends up hatching into an egg. And so you get his journey of trying to become a dragon rider and trying to get to the Varden, which is like the rebels in this continent, because the king Galbatrox is from the original dragon riders, and he destroyed them so that he could have more power, and he's been ruling for the last 100 years. So this is kind of his journey to the Varden. Brizinger is his journey that once he's at the Varden and figuring out how training to become another dragon rider after Brahm has died, and they go through a very large battle in Trojan Helm, which is where the dwarves live. And after that big battle, he goes to the elves in Duwalden and learns from the last dragon rider that has not been slain or connected to Galbatrox for fealty. And so he learns all the spells of how to use magic, and then he ends up having to go back because, or no, I'm talking about Eldest right now, not Brizinger. This is the 3rd book. So Eldest, everything I just said about Brizinger is for Eldest, and he ends up having to go back and keep fighting for the Varden because they're trying to take over the rest of the world from Galbatrox. And then in Brizinger, so in this one, in Eldest, you kind of get Roran's point of view too, which is his cousin, and him trying to get back his love and defeat the Razarak, which, once again, go back to my August TBR and my September TBR for more like in-depth details. And so they finally make it to where the Varden is staying, and that is for Brizinger, where they finally join in battle, and you find out that Murtagh, or maybe it was an Eldest, they finally join him in battle, and you find out that Murtagh is actually Aragon's half-brother, or, well, you think he's his full brother, but there's a little something else that happens. And I can't remember where he's in this book or the book that I was just reading, where he figures out who his actual dad is. But this one is, he makes a promise to Roran to go capture Katrina back, and which is Roran's fiance, love of his life, kind of a situation, and defeat the Razarak. And then he needs to go back to learn more about why Murtagh is so strong now when he shouldn't be, because Saphira and Aragon are, like, in terms of being a dragon rider, are, like, more knowledgeable, more experienced. And so this goes through him going back, him being healed from his injuries, and then coming back to fight. There's lots and lots and lots and lots of battles. And I think we also get a lot of Roran's point of view of him trying to prove himself in all of the fighting that's going on. And yes, so I would give all of these books a 4.5. I love this series. And yeah, I really like the series. Okay. So, Violets Are Blue by James Patterson. I don't think I've ever read this book. Detective Alex Cross must confront his most terrifying nemesis ever and his own deepest fears in this electrifying new thriller. Alex Cross has never believed in vampires, but when two joggers are found slain in a manner that suggests a macabre ritual, he has to reconsider. Someone believes in vampires enough to have committed a series of bizarre murders that appear to be the work of one. Local police are horrified, and even the FBI is baffled. Cross takes on the case and plunges into another world of secret clubs and role players, a world full of posers and play actors, and someone determined enough to cross the line from dark ritual to real blood. At the same time, the lethal supercriminal from Cross's past, known as a mastermind, is stalking him, taunting him, and threatening everything he holds dear. So, sounds like a good little mystery thriller series. I'm pretty sure that I picked this up either in a thrift store or from the library, and that is why I can't remember if I've actually read it or not. So maybe I should read this one again as well. That seems to be a common theme among my books. And then there's Confessions of a Murder Suspect with James Patterson and Maxine Petreo. And I have read this book. I don't remember what I think I obviously liked it enough to keep it. So I would say this is probably a 4-star. I'm not sure I loved my parents. On the night Malcolm and Maud Angel are murdered, their daughter Tandy is one of the last people to see her powerful parents alive. I'm not sure they loved me. Toddy and her brothers are the only suspects, and as she begins to remember flashes of disturbing past events, she's forced to ask this question. What is the Angel family truly capable of? But I'm going to find out who killed them, even if it was me. So, this obviously just goes through Tandy trying to figure out who killed her parents, and I don't really remember much beyond that. But I would give this one a 4 too, because I know that I liked it when I read it. And that is all for this shelf, because technically there's another series on the shelf. I guess I should just do it. I should just do it, right? Yeah, I'll just do it. Might as well just send it. So the next series that I was talking about is the Magic Thief series by Sarah Prinias, I think this is called. And so I would rate all of these 4.5 as well. I really enjoyed reading these books. I got the Magic Thief as a kid, and I really liked it, and so I wanted to finish it as part of my reading journey. So in the first one, Khan is a pickpocket. He's living in the slums of this city. This is definitely fantasy and magic. And he pickpocketed a wizard, and he should have died, but he didn't. And so the wizard kind of takes him under his wing to become his apprentice. And so you go through his connection with kind of the underlord of the slums, and him trying to learn magic, and having to find his stone, because in here they need a locus magicalis? I don't know what the last word is, but he needs a locust stone in order to still be an apprentice, and it ends up being the prettiest jewel and like the Dutch's prettiest like necklace. And so going through all of that, and then so book 2 is Lost, and in here he ends up destroying his locust stone because the only way to stop the machine that the underlord made to steal and house all of the magic of the city, he needs so much magic that he ends up destroying his locust stone. So this book is about him going and finding his new one, which leads him into finding a dragon named Pip. I think he names him Pip. But also just him going through the academy and like people not really trusting him because he was a thief for so long. And then the third book is Found, and in this one there's a magic that's it's a dark magic, and it's trying to steal the magic of the city's life force. And so he's trying to steal the magic of the city's life force, and he ends up finding out how to defeat that and coming back from that. And then lastly is Home, and Colin has come a long way since the day when he was a thief and a wizard's apprentice. He and the dragon Pip have saved the city of Willamette from doom, and now Duchess Rowan wants to make him the dual magister, the city's most important wizard, but the oldest wizards don't trust him, especially now that the Locust Magicalis stones are disappearing, and they all think it's him. So he ends up going through and figuring out who's stealing all the Locust stones. So, really good books. They're easy, simple ones for like your kids, or if you just like a little easy fantasy read. So I highly recommend. And I think we are gonna stop here because we're probably a little bit over half an hour to like 45 minutes. And I don't want to make you guys have really long videos to watch. So I'm going to do a part 3, and I will probably end up finishing, because right now we have like probably 2 shelves left, I want to say, combining this and like the top shelf, and then there's like half a shelf worth of books up here. So I'm going to go ahead and end the video here, and I'll see you guys in part 3. Bye!